Do you feel happy that you pissed off Shandy? Are you happy about that?
Yes, a little bit.
Dear Shandy. Welcome back to Dear Shandy, listeners. Hello, Andy.
Hello.
What's going on with your finger there? What
I
you
have an
doing?
itch.
Oh, an itch.
I've got a splinter that is now under the skin fully.
Oh,
Yeah, it's just itching me now.
getting this off to a great start.
Yeah. I've got another one here too.
Oh,
right on the tip of my finger.
Oh, they're the worst. Do you think that you'll be able to focus on our caller
I'll
today?
soldier on.
Okay,
Yeah,
you'll
I can do
soldier
it.
on despite your splinters. We are joined by a lovely caller today named Hanna. Hanna, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Hanna.
Thanks for having
Hello.
me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, great.
We're excited
Great
to have
energy
you.
brought about by Hanna. Do you mind giving us your age, the age of the person in question? I believe there was one, and your general region and your story, please.
So I'm 30. I live in the DC area. I live actually right in between DC and Annapolis. So it's like DC, Annapolis, Baltimore. So every road you drive on is busy. That's where I live.
Okay, that sounds fun.
It is fun. There are lots of people. So it's a good area. And then the person involved in my question, I guess, is my husband. My husband is 29.
Okay.
And we've got 3 kids. So they're probably tangentially involved in this too.
Wow,
5.
I never would have guessed you had 3 kids.
Yeah, you don't have 3 kids energy.
Yeah, you do not have 3 kids
You have
energy
no
at
kids
all.
energy.
Yes!
Yeah, you have well slept energy.
Yeah. How are you sleeping
Well,
so
I'm
much? What's going on with that?
Well, sleep is one of my superpowers. I'm pretty good at give me 5 hours, I'm okay.
Wow.
So that served me really well.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
You're making Sharleen jealous.
Yeah, hopefully
I'm
I can
sorry.
absorb it during our call.
So my kids are 6, 3, and 1.
Wow.
Okay.
So those are my 3 kids' ages.
Wow. Okay. Why did you call in today?
Oh, the story. Well, it's complicated. It's one of those, I took notes. I was like, you know what? I'm going to just take notes to center myself before the call. And what I wrote down is school, social, family, and culture. So I'm like, so basically everything. It's just a
Wow.
whole it's a multifaceted issue.
The answer is yes.
Oh, good.
Mhm.
I hope so. I mean, I think. So we live, so this is basically a living situation question. We live in a kind of sprawling suburban area. We live in a house. Our situation is kind of funny. We live in a house that my husband's aunt and uncle built. They bought property right next to his parents. So we live right next to my husband's parents. And his little sister lives with them still. He has a much younger little sister. And so we bought his aunt and uncle's house from his aunt and uncle when they moved away. And so we've slowly made it our own. We've been here for like 4.5 years. We live right next door to his parents. And so our family life is really like very full. We have a lot of good time. His parents, living next to his parents is wonderful. They have really good boundaries. They're the best at boundaries I've ever seen.
Wow.
Actually too good. I think my father-in-law has only been in our house twice.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very impressive.
Okay, I was not expecting it to go in that direction. Okay. Yeah.
So it's a bit of a unique situation, but our whole life here is very insular. So we live in an area where the school districts aren't super great. So they're really, really big and not very well managed. And so they're not very well rated. So it's kind of a bummer because we're not sending our kids to public school where we are right now. So we're sending them to a teeny tiny little private school. And I mean, teeny tiny, like as tiny as you can imagine, where my husband went. So my husband grew up next door, went to the school across the road. It's right across the road. And so we walk our son to school every day. He's in kindergarten at the school across the road. And we are just very insulated. He has 7 kids in his class. And that's a kind of big class for the school. Like
Wow.
it's tiny.
Yeah.
So it means there's just not a lot of socializing, and it's hard because of COVID. COVID makes it kind of harder and has made it harder to kind of adjust into a normal social life. And COVID kind of comes into play with my personal situation too, because socially, I had a really good time during COVID. I had fun hanging out with my mother-in-law. We went over their house every day, and she would bake different sourdough things when that was a big thing. Lots of baking,
Nice. Very
lots of donuts and bagels. It was great.
Yeah.
But then when COVID ended, I kind of watched all my friends. I have a lot of friends who live in a different area about a half an hour away. And I kind of watched them all start to go back to doing things like their kids go to soccer with the rest of their school friends and they have like a normal public school life. And I was kind of like, oh, I'm never going to have that. if we stay here. Like, I'm never going to have that like normal life. It's always going to be this kind of insulated. We walk our kids to school and we know everybody. We know all the teachers. All the teachers know my kids. Like, it's just so, and so some of it is like so sweet. We have all of the stuff right here and we have everything right here, but there's nothing like to look forward to. So there's nothing when I think about a full social life, like what that looks like with 3 kids. What does that look like? I don't know. And so part of me is thinking that I have to try and find a new solution to our living situation. And it's complicated because our house right now, we're at kind of a crossroads where we have to decide if we're going to put our kids in public school. We need to start like soon so that my son doesn't have to start public school in 5th grade, because nobody wants to start at a new school in 5th grade. But maybe that's the best option. I don't really know. A lot of it is kind of a mystery to me.
And have you, I mean, it begs the question, have you broached this topic with your husband? Because I'm sure there is some emotional attachment to the house. He lives next to his parents.
Oh, yeah. I talk about it incessantly. This is like my thing. This is like the problem at hand is my sanity, because I'm going crazy trying to decide if we're going to move or if we're going to stay here. Is this life enough for us? Is this, and you watch people leave. Like, because it's a small place, it's a small little community, it's a small little school, you're just watching everybody leave. And so it kind of plays a trick on your brain where you're like, okay, so I'm living in a place that everybody's leaving. And just.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and of course, I feel like that subconsciously does make you wonder what everyone's leaving that place for.
Right.
Is that grass indeed greener, as they say?
Exactly.
Okay, and so is your husband generally for or against this, since you bring it up all the time?
So my husband is a huge creature of habit. So he has always been very happy with whatever comes his way. He's like, he'll be happy wherever he is. He works from home, so all he needs is an office. He loves his job. So he's like, I'm good. Just put me wherever. And at first, when we first started talking about it, it was kind of like, we sort of realized after we were considering putting our kids in school, and we were like, oh, well, that'll be a big changing point. We'll have a social life and we'll meet other school parents. And it just didn't really happen. And then we were like, oh, so this isn't a social thing. This is just people put their kids in school and then they have their own social lives outside. So we have not successfully made any friendship connections with any other families.
Wait. Sorry, I want to analyze that for 1 second. So with any other families, like any other parents whose children go to the same private school.
Yep.
And is that just, the cookie hasn't crumbled that way? Like, I'm just curious how hard you've worked with the current circumstance.
So part of it is that the school, kind of like any tiny school, it's kind of designed to be a sort of self-contained system where a bunch of people are friends. They send their kids all to school together to be friends together, and the parents already know each other. And then, so that's what it was created to be. It's created to be a church school where the church friends all send their church kids to the school.
Okay.
And that's how it used to be when my husband was there. He had a ton of church friends, and his parents had church friends that were also sending their kids to the same school. So it was like this. And that's where this cultural identity of this place. It's like one church, one school that everybody is kind of a part of. And that has changed because there aren't the people to feed into that. So the school has opened up to lots of different people from lots of different cultural backgrounds. And there isn't the same, like, everybody goes to church together on Sunday. Like, that's not the environment.
Yeah.
But that's how it was designed to be.
But since it's not like that today, have you, I'm just curious, like, if you see another mom dropping off her kid, is it like, hey,
yes,
I'm Hanna?
Oh, totally. I'm always saying hi to everybody and trying really hard. But I'm kind of just in a different, I don't know how to explain this. I'm very young to have 3 kids. And so I'm kind of younger than all the other moms. All the other moms, and especially moms that are sending their kids to private school, just have a tendency to be more set up. All the other moms work. I think I'm the only stay-at-home mom in the school.
Really? Wow.
So it's just like, there is not a kind of like, let's take our 1-year-olds to the playground. Like, that's not the environment. It's more like everybody's going to work and everybody has other stuff to do. And I just have no other stuff to do because I'm a stay-at-home mom and that's my chosen path. But it comes with a lot of loneliness.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've tried to solve that with like meeting people in my area and doing stuff in my area. But I had a lot of luck finding a social group in a whole different area where the school systems are better. So people send their kids to public school. And that's where I met all the stay-at-home moms. And so I like watch everyone from far away and I'm like, all the stay-at-home moms went over there.
Is the over there the place that's 30 minutes away?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I have thoughts. Do you want to begin?
No, you go with your thoughts. I'm marinating.
You're marinating. I mean, there's two main thoughts that I'm having. The first is that half an hour is really not very far. I don't think it's really far. I have three thoughts. Sorry, three. So that's number one, is that half an hour to me doesn't seem that far. It takes us half an hour to get to dinner in the West Village sometimes. So I just feel like half an hour, you could still see your in-laws like several times a week. It's just not, sure, it's not next door, but to me, half an hour is not like 3 hours.
That's a long bike ride.
It's a long bike ride.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
it is definitely a long bike ride.
Yeah.
It's a good bike ride, though. It's a good one.
Challenging.
Solid ride.
Especially
get on it.
Especially toting 3 kids.
Yeah.
That'd be something.
A tandem bike with the 3
You're going to
kids.
make me forget my other two things.
Okay. You got two more things.
Don't forget.
Second thought, got it back, is, the idea, when you get on an airplane, they're like, put the mask on yourself before helping others. I have this feeling from you that like you're just so full of life and I don't want to make an assumption about how extroverted or introverted you are or whatever, but you just seem like an affable person who is just probably itching to make friends and have a full social life and, with and without your kids. And I just, the last thing you would want is to develop resentment. 30 is such a special time. Like, you are young. Yes. But there's also like, if not now, when? There's that kind of idea. And if your kids, as they grow up and stay in the school, then they build their friends. Like, I just don't really see this becoming a simpler choice anytime soon. And the third thought I have, and this is the one that's sort of like for you staying, is just if you could, it sounds like you're twiddling your thumbs a lot. Like you're kind of bored. That's the feeling I'm getting. And I just, from there, it's a very trite thought, but it's something like, what hobbies could she explore? What side business could she, think about? I know it is trite. I'm just trying to think of like, if your in-laws really wanted you to stay, if your husband really wanted you to stay. But what's interesting to me is that I'm not really getting that vibe that anyone's pressuring you to stay.
No, nor am I.
So you're shaking your head. So no one is being...
There's not a lot of pressure involved. The hard thing is most of the pressure comes internally from me. It's like I've wanted my whole life I wanted to get married and have kids. I was so excited about that. And I was like, this is it. And my husband and I got married and I was like, awesome, I've done it. Like, I made it. This is great. And
time to make babies.
Yeah. Well, and then our first was a surprise. And then we were like, well, I guess now we're in the baby stage of our life. I guess we'll do the fun non-baby part later. And so we kind of switched the order that we were planning on.
Yeah.
And in doing that, I just feel like it's so hard to explain. It's kind of like I didn't have anything before I started having kids that was just mine. When I went to, I went to college, I got a 4-year degree, but I got a 4-year degree in like religious studies. So I don't have really anything like in front of me that I can do with that. So I don't have anything that I learned to do that now I could fall back on and be like, feeling really bored. Time to go back to my quilting project. It's like, no, I'm feeling really bored. Let me watch 1,600 YouTube videos on how to start quilting, which is just a very different kind of thing. It's just like you have to have all this energy to start something new, and energy to start something new and potentially fail at something new is not something I have in spades right now. I'm just
understandable.
Well, to me, the vibe I get from you is not so much that you don't have the energy, but that maybe you don't have the interest for those things. Like, I feel like you have it sounds like you have moments of boredom. You have energy.
Yeah.
You have the superpower in your corner. Maybe you just haven't.
Yeah.
And that's, by the way, you're in the majority. I think a lot of people, if they do have this idea of like a side gig or a side project or just something that fulfills them on a personal level, how many of us ever know what that is, let alone at age 30? So I hope that didn't come off as me being like, why aren't you exploring your hobbies and like selling
I think
quilts
it's a
on
reasonable
Etsy?
thing to clear the air with,
Yeah.
maybe that's the answer. But I think the issue is that you're an extrovert and you're living an introverted life.
Would you say you are an extrovert?
Yes.
And that's
for sure.
not healthy for your soul. So I guess my questions really have to do with your husband. Would you define your husband as an introvert or just a non-vert?
He's a fascinating case. So he went to school the whole way through at a tiny little Christian school, and then went to Christian high school, and then went to college. And we were already dating by the time he went to like a big university. And so he never really developed a social life outside of the one he developed when he was in the tiny school. So he still had the same group of friends. And even now his friends are the ones he's had since then. So
Wow.
he's never been in sort of general public. Like he's always been in kind of this curated social environment.
Yeah.
It's kind of fascinating. It means like he never looks at anyone with judgment, if that makes sense. He looks at everyone and he's like, oh, new people to discover. Like he's got this sense of wonder at everything.
Wow.
And yeah,
that
he's
sounds
a very
beautiful.
sweet person.
Wow.
He's a super sweet person.
But that sounds like somebody who would love to go somewhere where they could meet all sorts of new people.
Yeah, only half an hour away from the safety of that curated environment.
Yeah.
But he's also a creature of habit. And so he's like, oh, well, right now we have our life is set up here right now. So moving is really stressful for him because it's a big shift and change. So like any of those big shifts are really stressful.
I think you're a giver, Hanna. I think you give too much. For instance, like when Sharleen wants something done, I also am a creature of habit.
Yes. And just let me tell you, the idea of moving, I think that you would have a nervous
well, moving,
breakdown.
let's not talk about moving right now. Now you're stressing me out.
Like even the word, he like breaks out in
start
hives.
small.
Yeah, I get that.
No, but there are things around the house or places we should travel.
I'll get it out of the way that I like change.
Yeah.
I get bored if I'm home too long. Like I want to travel. I want to go do things.
Yeah.
I want to paint the wall a dark blackberry color. Like I just want to keep things fresh and interesting. And Andy is a creature of habit. He's like, well, it works fine the way it is.
Right. Well, that being said, Sharleen has pushed me to do a lot of things I probably would have done without her. And it's great. I love it. Once I get over the inertia, I love it. And she's made my life a lot better by pushing me. And I think that based on the way you describe your husband, it sounds like he would enjoy this half an hour away, this paradise half an hour away. But he needs a really heavy push. And I don't feel like the pushing you're giving him is the kind of aggressive pushing that's needed here. I think you're probably being too sweet. That's my guess.
Yeah, I agree
Just based
with
on
that.
our 15 minutes of knowing each other.
Yeah, I agree. Based on the fact that you said you've brought this up incessantly, I think was the word you used.
Yes.
It's interesting to me that you could bring up something incessantly in a way that I think it's safe to assume that if you bring it up, it means that it's something you're curious about, maybe you desire. I don't know how much you're making it known that that's something you would prefer to what you have currently. But I agree that you need to be, I think you have to push a little harder. The fact that he hasn't responded to your incessant bringing up of this topic tells me that you need to kind of, I don't know, lay down the hammer.
That's why I brought up Sharleen, because what happens is she does incessantly bring something up, but then if I don't react to it or make some sort of move based on it, then it becomes very aggressive. Yeah.
Is that how
and
it
it
works?
basically ends with her arms crossed, glaring at me, saying, "We're doing this."
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, the other day, it actually happened the other day with something upstairs where we It was kind of like a big house project.
Yeah.
And finally, like I'd been bringing it up gently a couple times a week for the last month and a half. And finally I said to him and I was like, I just want you to know that this isn't going to go away and I'm going to get my way. So you might as well accept it now. And he was like, okay. And suddenly we went to the hardware store. It's almost like you need to have just so you know, this is going to happen. And maybe for you to reach that point will mean you even coming to terms with it yourself, because I feel like you still sort of have kind of a question mark above it, but I don't know if it's because you feel guilt maybe taking him away from his family. Is that what it is?
There are definitely two big things at play here.
Okay.
The one is that each time I bring it up, I bring up totally different parts of what would make the situation better for me. So I either go, and we've been through the whole gamut of it. We actually have plans from an architect to redo our whole entire kitchen in our house currently. Because we were like, so the problem is that the kitchen's too small. I can't see the kids when I'm cooking. It drives me crazy. And so if we fix the kitchen, that would be great. We could get a few more years here and that would be awesome. And that was our plan. We went ahead with the plans. We went ahead with everything. And then springtime hit. The winter's cozy and everybody's kind of isolated. So I was like, it's great in the winter. And then springtime hit. All my friends' kids started playing soccer and socializing with each other. And I was like, well, here I am at home again. I guess we've got to move. And at that point, we had everything set to do the kitchen project.
Yeah.
And so it's like every time I talk about it, and every time I talk about it to my husband, I'm like, wouldn't it be great to move? Wouldn't it be fun to like do different stuff and have different experiences and, make new friends and meet people and send our kids to public school? And then I oscillate to being like, wait, public school is too big. Our kids will be scared. What if they get bullied? What if we don't like our new neighborhood and I'm viewing this as a magical fix and it's not actually a magical fix? We shouldn't move. We should change our kitchen. And basically every single time I talk, it is one or the other. You never know which one you're going to get, but it's infuriating for me and for him. And so both of us, he would be totally on board. If
the message were clear.
The other part is I am too careful in my prodding because I don't like to push something to happen and then have to work to make everyone enjoy it.
Right. So you're blamed for it. You're like, God forbid you get there and he's like, this sucks. It's all your fault.
That is, those wouldn't be his exact words, but he would just be sort of like, I would have had more fun if we went together.
Oh, but that's worse. Passive aggressive. That's worse.
It's too bad.
You know what would have been really nice if we were back at home. What do you think of that?
Yeah.
Okay. Hannah, I have a question for you.
Yes, please.
If it were not for your husband, would you be living in the place you're living right now in such a rural place?
The answer is no. I'm answering
it's
for her.
half rhetorical. Just let her answer the question.
It's really hard to imagine what my life would be like if I was just me and not my husband and my kids, because so much of me is in them now that like when I think about it, I made so many changes to my life when I fell in love with my husband and I was like, this is it. We're packed for the rest of our life. Like this is it. We're ready. I fell absolutely madly in love with him. And I was like, this is my person. He was, my first, neither of us had ever dated anyone. And so because we were so young, we didn't like bring in two different lives. We didn't bring in like, he never lived on his own. He literally went from his parents' house to my apartment.
Yeah.
And so there was never that like we have
your own individual everything.
Exactly.
I get that.
So it's all enmeshed.
Yes, but nonetheless, had you not met him at age 20, 21?
Yeah, 21. 21 is when we started dating.
Yes, I know that meeting him and falling in love with him and marrying him and having kids with him just informed so much of your life and it's all intertwined. But there is sort of like, I'm sensing that maybe part of what you're craving right now is maybe making up for lost time and discovering that sense of self. And the bottom line is, it was kind of a rhetorical question that Andy answered for you. And actually, you didn't really answer it, which is just simply black and white. Would you be where you are now in such a small place if it were not for him, his family, your aunt and uncle having that house?
No. Yeah,
Okay.
There's no way.
So my point in making you answer that point blank is to say that you have done plenty. You have sacrificed plenty. You know, I don't want to say sacrifice because you sound really happy. You really do. But it's a half hour away. Like, he'll live, even if it's not his cup of tea at first. Like, you deserve to have a full social life and to, like you said, like, you want to have experiences. Like, you think that's going to be easier at 40? You're wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, it'd be good for your kids too.
I
Give your kids more exposure to the world.
Well, I mean, I feel like people will have mixed reactions to that. I'm sure some people are delighted to have more of an insular environment. And, you know, I get that bullying is an issue. And the bigger the school, you know, the more variables there are at play. But,
so is life.
Yeah.
Like, life has a lot of variables.
Yeah.
You're going to get bullied in life no matter what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
As an adult.
Yeah, and online, I mean, it's like, are they going to have social media one day? It's like, exactly.
Right.
So,
No, I think you owe it to yourself and possibly to your kids to broaden your horizons. And I think that to cut to the chase, that you should set a timeline for yourself when this should start moving. I don't think that you don't have more than one life to live. And I think that you know exactly what you need to do and what you want out of this life. And you have 2 of the 3 things that you wanted. And I think you need to set a timeline for getting on the 3rd one.
I wish I knew, you know, like any big choice. It's like, I wish I knew if I got there, I would be happier. I wish I knew that this wasn't just
you don't get that.
Yeah,
you don't get that. You think you get that?
No.
Come on.
Oh.
You know better.
You know what I wish? I wish I knew what tonight's lotto numbers were. Because you know what I would do? I'd play those numbers and play them.
Yeah. I mean,
buy
do
a
you know
ticket.
how many things I wish I knew the future on? Like, which path would make me happier?
Yeah, that's bullshit.
That would, you're never going to know
on.
that.
That's the part that's so hard. If it were just me and I was just like, oh yeah, well, I never know if I'll gamble. Sure. Like if I don't like it, I'll move again or I'll do something. But the fact that it involves moving away from something that's safe for my kids, moving away from a place that is the only home they've known, that is like picking up and moving and transplanting their entire life.
Okay, so your real question is not about, you know, how do I do this? It's about, is it right morally for me to take a risk to put
the mask on myself before the other people around me?
Exactly.
But if I knew that the mask, but does the mask actually? So part of the problem with this phase of life.
Don't break down the mask analogy. It's perfect. It's perfect.
But part of the problem with this stage of life, you know, being a stay-at-home mom, having kids all under the age of 6, like it's a very isolating time of life. So
you're wondering if it's a phase.
And I'm worried that the thing that's making me think it's a phase is my age. I'm very concerned that I have never had the experiences that are usually necessary to make a decision like this. Usually people have time to test out different areas to live.
Okay, but that's kind of a
settle.
chicken or egg situation because you don't have the experiences that you are craving to have that experience.
Yeah.
Totally.
And also, let's not forget that you're at a time right now with your children's ages where it's more doable than it will be in a few years.
Absolutely.
Like you're in that Goldilocks spot. I think you got to go get it or just let your dream die. And I'm getting a little pissed off. You're pissing me off. Hanna.
To me,
pissing me off.
This is one of those like clear ones to us. And I understand that we do not have children and that's a variable here, or 3 variables really, that really complicates things. But I really do believe that at the end of the day, a happy parent is going to be a better parent than an unhappy parent.
And also, let's not forget, you're not moving to Anchorage.
Yeah.
Okay? You could come back.
Yeah. The fact that this is a half-hour trip,
Yeah.
I'm getting pissed off too.
Yeah, I'm getting pissed off. I'm already pissed off.
And please do.
Yeah.
I make myself upset with this. I would love this to be an easy.
Do you feel happy that you pissed off Shandy? Are you happy
Yes,
about
a little
that?
bit. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm kind of satisfied.
It
I feel
takes
like
a lot.
I did my job. No, I feel like I represented the infuriating nature of this disagreement. Because even though you guys are saying this to me, in my head, I'm like, of course they would say that.
Oh, so we are saying what you expected us to say.
Yeah. I mean, because for you listening to me, it sounds like, and I can hear it too, it sounds like that's what would make me happy, that I would be near people that I know and things that I do. But I'm still going to be a stay-at-home mom. I'm still going to be struggling to meet people because that's a phase of life.
Yeah, but much less.
Yeah,
we all have agreed that it's going to be much less struggling.
You would have a larger pool of potential friend candidates. And friends for your kids. Like, think about how enriching it could be for them to meet people outside of like their 6-7 person class.
Yeah.
Again, if that is what you want. And I think there are people, you know, my sister lives in a pretty small town. She's got 4 kids. She's been happy as a clam ever since she moved there. She always wanted to be in a really small town. That was her dream, was to have, a lot of land with her 4 kids, and like they were like a family unit. And she never craved, more, because that really isn't her. She's introverted. She really likes her tight knit circle. Like, her family is her social life. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I also certainly don't think there's anything wrong with you wanting a little bit more. You don't want to turn your whole world upside down. And I just want to stress one thing before I forget. I think people have this really misguided idea that making a move, and I'm talking like a move like to another continent, in your case, a half-hour move, it doesn't have to be permanent.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be like 4 months.
Yeah, you could do it maybe for 1 school year, maybe 2, and just come to the conclusion that actually I miss being close to my in-laws. And that was actually really great, whatever. It doesn't have to be permanent, but then it's the information. I always talk about the information. Yeah. Right now, you are haunted by the unknown.
And you're going to be haunted forever.
Yes.
Forever and ever and ever.
That part's totally true. I would be haunted forever because it is consistently on my mind. I think part of it is being concerned with how much I have kind of fallen into and absorbed my roles, my wife and mother. Like, it just feels like it's such a dominant place in me that it's kind of hard for me to look at it and be like, this is actually an issue of me. Separate from those things, I just need more.
Look,
I'm just worried I'm on a never-ending quest.
You're a happy person.
What will make me happy next?
No, you're a happy person. You're clearly a happy person. There's very little that can make you not happy, but you're not satisfied. And there's a difference. And that lack of satisfaction, despite how happy you are by default, will eventually start eating away at your happiness one day. You can't be happy forever having a dream die like this. So I would say time is of the essence on this one. And again, as Sharleen has said, and I've said, you're not moving that far away. This is a very reversible decision. And if your husband doesn't like it, he can suck it up and be like, you know what? I did this for you so that you don't have a life of dissatisfaction. And now we can go back to our small town, go back to our little school, and live happily ever after.
And I just want to correct one thing you said, because I agree with everything. I just think the idea of happily ever after, you talked about you're on this quest. I can tell you, being older than you and Andy being older than both of us, that the quest doesn't end. You will continue to wonder what else is out there and wonder about your choices. And
the only quest that ended is my quest for new music, 2006. I don't know a single song after 2006. Nothing. Yeah, but I play Name That Tune before 2006. No one beats me.
Yeah, when he plays Name That Tune and it's like before the 2000, basically, he gets it every time. You would win the money.
That's it.
Anyway, the point is, I wouldn't focus so much on like the quest aspect, because then you might be setting yourself up for failure in that you expect to arrive to your new place half an hour away and expect to be completely just divinely happy. And I don't really think it's going to play out that way. It's more that, as Andy said, you will fill the holes of dissatisfaction, which, to be honest, is as much as a lot of people can hope for.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. When do you know to stop pushing for more? When do you know that what you have is good? You should be happy with what you have. And that's part of my problem is like, when am I going to stop having that? When am I going to be like, this is my forever home?
How long would you say you've been feeling this way?
It's so hard because of COVID made it really hard. During COVID, this was the ideal place to live.
I'm sure.
It was a little pod with my in-laws. It was calm and we had social life all the time. My brother-in-law was living back at his parents' house because of COVID. Like, it was just very full. And so having it switch and oscillate to this like very lonely existence, because like you guys mentioned, I'm very extroverted. My in-laws are all introverts pretty much. And so I kind of all of a sudden the energy that I had for all of those things just kind of went away. Like going half an hour away to meet my friends at a playground is exhausting because you get there, you spend an hour at the playground and then you're back in the car for another half an hour and you have to have the kids in the car for half an hour, which is annoying. But if we were coming for dinner at my in-laws, then it would be just going for a few hours to a house, which would be better than going to meet at a playground somewhere.
So to answer the question, how long have you been feeling this way? I know COVID put a wrench in things. This is like such an umbrella statement to make. But for me anyway, I felt like COVID taught me a lot about myself and what I craved and what I wanted and what I was dissatisfied with and what I wanted to change. And it kind of sounds like maybe it did that for you just in a sort of roundabout way. Yeah, it was great for COVID, but
gave you a lot of time to reflect.
That's an interesting bet to make that it's going to go back to being like that and you'll be so satisfied there from here on out.
Right. It's never going to be like that. And we
don't know.
We can hope.
Yeah, we don't really know, but
crossed.
Yeah, that might be the best time.
Yeah. It's just more likely than not that things will continue to be at least as normal as they are now. This is the reality now, Mm-hmm. I think that, you could chalk it up more to being like, we were really lucky during COVID, but not, now at age 30, I'm going to decide that this is where I'm going to be for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Because for 2 years in lockdown, it was great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And I agree with everything you guys are saying. I mean, you're right. This is the right answer. This is the clear answer. I just for some reason
that's very satisfying.
This call is over.
No one's ever told us this before at the end of a call.
We've always been wondering, are we right?
Yeah, that was extremely rewarding to hear.
Well, our work is done.
As soon as you guys got mad at me, I was like, they're right. They're totally right. I know they're right. But you guys are. And I am sort of mourning the life that I didn't get to have. Like, I never got to have I live in an apartment in a city, which I wanted to do. And now if I move to an apartment in the city, I'm bringing all of my kids and all of their school needs and all of our stuff and all of our, we can't just be one person choosing to live in a city. I've lost that time of my life.
You said the first thing you said was you always wanted to get married and have kids.
Yeah.
You're wanting your cake and eating it too.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah, you really want that cake and to eat it.
I would like both of those things, actually.
Yeah. This is what I will say. I was born and raised in Manhattan, and my head is like a haunted house of neuroses as a result. It's like I've been exposed to every single thing that you can be exposed to. And I've often envied people who have grown up in these very small, tight-knit communities. I've been like, that's great if you like it. If you don't have wanderlust, I've always been envious. I was like, I want that. I want that like tight-knit community where you're not exposed to all this garbage and nonsense and crazy people and fast-paced idiocy. Like, it's all BS. I've always yearned for that. But if you have the wanderlust, that no longer is good.
Yeah.
It's only good if you are like, I like this. And if you do like that, I'm envious of you, because that's great. You don't have to deal with any nonsense. Everyone loves you. You say hi to every single person you walk by in the street. Fantastic. But you don't want that. You want more. You may want that, but you want more.
Well,
and because you want because you want more, I don't envy that situation. You need to get that more, because if you have the wanderlust and you have that super tight-knit community, then that's a real problem, right?
That is exactly it.
So go get it. Go get that half-hour away town.
To be honest, the half-hour race sounds like the perfect. You were not saying like move to New York City.
No, right.
I did think you're ruminating in a way that is not going to help you either make a decision to leave or make a decision to be satisfied with what you have.
Yeah.
Well, and that's exactly, and that isolates my biggest fear in all of this is that because I hold both the desire to be that like small town mom of like knowing everybody, like exactly, Andy, what you were describing. Like I always thought that is, I mean, I was raised in small town, Pennsylvania. So I thought always that was where my future was. Mm-hmm. I never thought about any other kind of existence. And I guess it's weird in adulthood to learn how many different types of people and types of lives there are.
Yeah.
So you hear about somebody who lives in a city and I can't even fathom like the kind of change that is to someone who's never lived in a city is bizarre. Like it's just so weird to think about it.
Yeah.
And it's weird that you have to choose.
I know. You kind of want to have multiple lives where you just get to try them all out and then figure out which one you like best and then decide to make that your official life.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, wouldn't we all love that?
Yeah. But you're young enough to be able to have a whole new life now and then say, you know what, this isn't for me. And go back and still have plenty of life in your original place.
Yeah, stop feeling like you have one foot in the grave. That's kind of a vibe I'm getting.
Everything about Hannah is pissing me off.
That's kind of the vibe I'm getting.
Heated up.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, on top of everything, you're making me feel old.
It's about him.
Yeah, it is about me.
Yeah. So you admitted, Hannah, that this is what you thought we would say.
Yes. One part of me was like, maybe they'll say to just be grateful for the season of life I'm in right now, in the place that I am in, and just
another podcast would say that.
Yeah, most would.
But
hashtag gratitude and you're good.
Yeah, girl, live your life.
How do I fathom wrapping my head around trying to know if I'm the kind of person who is just going to be dissatisfied or if, I don't want to be the kind of mom who moves her kids around every 2.5 years.
But you're so putting the carriage before the horse right now, or the horse before the carriage. Did I get that wrong?
You got it right. I liked it. Yeah, the horse is supposed to be in front of the carriage. Last time
I realized as it was coming out of my mouth that I've never used that expression. I've only ever heard other people use this.
I mean, I'm sure some horses push carriages, but the guy running that operation doesn't know what he's doing.
Okay, so you're putting the carriage before the horse. Why are you thinking about what's on the other side of a bridge that's like 5 bridges from this one? Like, first cross this bridge. As an outsider, this is like, I'm getting angry. Mm-hmm. Like, you're thinking about, I don't want to be the kind of mom that does this, this, and this. No one's saying that that's what's going to happen. You could move half an hour away, realize that that's exactly what you wanted. It was the best choice you've ever made. You have a full life. Your kids have tons of friends. Your husband now has a fuller social circle than he's ever had in his life. Your in-laws are only a half-hour drive away. And that could be it. That's where you grow old together. Like, why does it have to become this? The reason I'm getting as upset as I am is because I share this trait. And as someone who's older than you, I'm telling you right now that it is not going to serve you. I'm saving you hours of your life right now by telling you this.
Oh my
Stop
gosh.
putting the carriage before the damn horse.
Yeah, nice. Got it.
Hannah, what were you expecting to get out of this call? Because it's clear to me what you kind of expected us to say, even though you always play devil's advocate and you always have a sort of, but they could have said this, but I could feel this, but there's always sort of, you have kind of a rebuttal for everything in a positive and endearing and kind of neurotic overthinking kind of way.
Yeah, you're way too neurotic for a small town, by the way. Yeah,
that's true.
Way too neurotic. You're like bordering as neurotic as me. And that you got to get out of there. Get out of there. So,
Hannah, what were you expecting to receive from us or to generally feel from this today?
I think that one of the things in all of this I've kind of discovered and been really curious about is the kind of grief that comes from giving up parts of yourself, parts of your life, parts of your living situation, whatever it is, for every big decision that you make, like getting married or having kids or choosing the person you're going to be with forever, you're choosing to not do things too.
I know.
And
I know exactly what you're describing.
But the thing is, though, that I agree with that almost 99% of the time. But the thing is, you are not doing things. You are doing the absence of things. You're doing the same thing you've done your whole life, which is extremely limited. So you're not sacrificing much of anything.
Yeah.
And you can always come back. A lot of people,
won't.
they're like, I'm moving to Japan. Like, I'm leaving my family. I'm leaving my home. I'm leaving my job. My kids are going to be traumatized, but I'm doing it because that's what I want. I don't give a
kid
shit.
would be traumatized by going to Japan.
I'm going to Tokyo. But you're going a half hour away. As the horror movie classic Amityville Horror,
Yeah.
the phrase that they coined. You ever seen the Amityville Horror?
No, because I don't like
There's
horror
been like
movies.
2 remakes.
Okay.
It's a 1970s horror movie based on a
Have
true
you
story.
seen it?
You ever see the Amityville
No.
Horror?
No horror
Shaking
movies
her
for
head.
me.
Well, you know
Yeah,
the
same.
catchphrase of the Amityville Horror, which is "Get out." It's
Oh.
been copied by many horror movies.
Like the movie Get Out?
Well, that is yes,
Next one.
particularly that
Yeah,
one.
okay.
But I say to you, get out.
Okay. Thank you. And I just want to add that, you know, what you said just seriously resonated with, like, I felt like it gave me goosebumps what you said. Like, I know exactly what you're experiencing. And let me tell you, at 30, I absolutely went through a similar phase. And I don't want to pretend that it ends.
Right.
But I'm constantly in this state of gauging and weighing each choice and like decide, you know, trying to mitigate the regret that I'll feel afterwards.
Absolutely.
You know, like you're literally like regret is what pushes so many of my decisions, like my fear of feeling it. Mm-hmm. But I think you have to listen to that little voice, not listen to that little voice, which, by the way, is your intuition, your instincts, your deepest desires that I do feel like you've lost sight of or lost hearing of in the last decade, you know, in feeling like your identity is now to be a stay-at-home mom and to do the right thing and to be satisfied and happy, because to not be that is to, I don't know, not be grateful or not be a good mother or whatever. The theme of this whole conversation is YOLO. YOLO. It's true. Why do you think I went on The Bachelor? You think because I was there to find love? I moved to Germany. Like,
The
do you think it's
TV
because I
said
always...
you were there to find love. It's not true.
All I'm saying is that you never know what making that one little choice can do, how it can change your life. And that's what makes it so scary. Mm-hmm. But I can tell you from experience that every move I've made to expand my horizons and to have the experiences that you're describing, not having had, I've made so many decisions in the interest only of having experiences. I've ended relationships that I knew weren't right for me simply because I wanted to experience dating other people who maybe were right for me. I've moved to different continents. I've dabbled in other things other than what my main career was. I can tell you every single one, even if it was a complete and utter failure, taught me so much more about what I even want, who I am. That's what I'm lacking from this. It's like, you need a rudder. You need to just steer in a direction then you'll know.
That's another great point, is that even if it's a disaster moving, it might make your life better.
It will. I already know this will make your life better.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, even if it's a disaster,
you have a Shandy
cannot
stamp
lose.
of approval. You cannot lose, because then you'll know. And you could, the information that you don't want to live in that town is worth its weight in gold.
Yeah.
And you don't know that until you do it.
Right.
I always say bad relationships. The worst relationship you've ever had, as long as you've gotten out of it, is probably one of the best experiences of your life.
Yeah. I mean,
assuming you came out unscarred.
Yeah, it's exactly.
Yeah, no, I mean
assuming,
it.
Yeah.
I mean, look back
there's
so
a lot
fondly.
of asterisks to go
I
along
look
with
back
that.
so fondly on my worst relationship because it taught me so much, and it was a real like gritty life experience. It's what life is about. Life is not always about everything's all happy and fancy.
The what if that's looming over your head right now, that you're gonna have a what if in any direction.
Absolutely.
So think about what brings you closer to your sense of self. That's to me what's happening here. Like that sense of identity. Hanna, I'm upset. This is a no-brainer for us. I want to throw down I'm going to pull an Andy.
Are you going to do that?
Throw
You're
down the mic.
going to throw down the mic?
Are you going to listen to us, Hanna?
Yes. I mean, for me,
That's a
Can you
big
imagine
maybe
if
right
she
there.
said no?
no, I'm saying
maybe.
yes. I'm saying yes.
Okay, Hanna, I hope that you heed our advice. I mean, I'm no pressure on making a decision, but just, food for thought. And YOLO, you do not have one foot in the grave. You're only 30. And whatever would bring you closer to you outside of all the obligations, all the walls that you've built around yourself for now. And also remember that it doesn't have to be permanent. Those are, I feel like, the main takeaways.
Yeah. And think about this. Your youngest child could be out of the house before you're 50.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Which means that you have an entire adult person to be thinking of. They're looking at you right now and they're like, don't fuck this up.
Add that to the mix.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right, Hanna.
Good luck.
Congratulations
Thank you.
on infuriating us.
And you'll send us.
And we look forward to your update. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye. Okay. Well, she was very sweet. I related
Really
a lot
sweet,
to
yeah.
her.
Yeah.
The storms up top.
It's nice to see someone with such a great attitude and so much joy, but also someone who's honest about the things they want.
Yeah, I worry a little that her great attitude, which we were so struck by in the beginning, is sort of, this veneer. She's like, I don't see why I shouldn't be happy. I'm normally happy. I'm happy with anything. I think that if you lean into that a little too much, then you just start.
Right, it could be impeding her.
Yeah, it is.
actual
I think it's
satisfaction.
impeding.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm happy with anything. My needs don't matter.
No.
That's literally what's happening right now.
Yeah, I think it's one of these situations where she really doesn't have much to lose.
Oh my God, yes. Well, and everything that she's building up that is there to lose, she's inflicting on herself, somehow making it about ruining her kid's opportunity to whatever, or her husband's whatever, she's taking on too much. She is not selfish enough.
I agree. And I don't think there's that much friction to get this.
That's the crazy
going.
part.
Yeah.
I kept expecting for her to jump in.
He's putting his foot down. He's like, we are not moving.
Yeah.
I like it here. Stop asking
Yeah.
me. He's just like, whatever.
According to her, but
I
it
honestly
does
feel like
sound
if she just walked in his room, we're moving. We're
He'd be
moving
like,
next
okay.
month. He'd be like, all right.
yeah. Okay. I feel like we said everything that we could say during the call.
No, that was good.
Yeah. Enough. Do you have
I
anything
think-
you
I
want to add?
No, I think that, she was wobbling, and I hope that we put her steady on the tracks.
Yeah.
Towards her
Gave her the
new
rudder.
experience. Steadied the rudder.
Yes. Yes.
Or gave her a rudder.
And put the carriage behind the horse.
Carriage. Well, yes. Preferably attached by a harness.
Yes. This is another one of those coming of age things. And it's interesting how, people go through that at different stages in their life, depending on, her 30 looks so different from my 30.
I know. From most people's 30.
Yeah. But it's interesting how she's still haunted by what she hasn't done. And like I said, curiosity unexplored. That's just sad. That's, if you don't have curiosity, whatever, but that's very sad to me.
If you have it.
If you have it.
And you don't allow it to breathe. That's sad.
Yeah.
If
And
you
maybe
don't
you
have
allow it to breathe and you realize, actually, I was good before.
Yeah.
Great.
This is not an ignorance is bliss
No.
situation. She has the desire.
Yes.
And it's being unmet.
Yes.
And to meet it does not take an enormous amount of work.
No.
Where in most cases it usually does.
I don't even want to give it the airtime right now to talk about how moving 30 minutes away.
She could she could say to the family, we're packing up, we're going to an Airbnb for 2 weeks. Let's see what it's like.
Yeah.
It's like the move is not hard.
Almost, to be honest, I kind of wish we'd suggested that. Summer break, the kids aren't in school, find a place to rent for 1 month. go just
Yeah,
experience
that's what I'm saying.
it.
Just like see what it's like. Maybe you like 2 weeks in, you're like, oh my God, this is horrible. I gotta get
or
back
you're
home.
like, this is actually my dream realized.
Yeah, you want more and more and more.
Yeah.
And you're angry at yourself for not doing it earlier.
Yes. That, a whole other thing to
agree.
maybe regret.
Or a whole nother thing to regret.
Okay, I think we can wrap that one.
Mm-hmm.
If you enjoyed what you heard today, you know what we will ask of you, and that is to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow us on Instagram, and
TikTok.
And tell your friends, and generally do all the things that you would do to support and keep afloat a podcast you enjoy. And that's a wrap. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Dear Shandy. Bye-bye. Dear Shandy.